Excuse me, Kingdom family. Listen, baby, that's how it be some nights, okay? Getting up on here, recording. I be so sleepy. But listen, the Lord got a word for us, okay? And this is so much. It's a video that I'm going to play for you all, and then I'm going to give my experience, okay, my own personal insight and wisdom that the Lord has given me over the years, okay. But before I do that, what's up, Kingdom family? Welcome back to the Keys to the Kingdom, where we drop all the keys to the kingdom. Dr. G is in the building. If you are new to the royal family, come on and hit that subscribe button, because we're kings and queens actively living out our purposes, full of positive vibes, changing lives, and loving on the Lord. All right. This is the place to be. You do not want to miss these glasses. Have a little glare. Okay, I'm going to take them off. You do not want to miss the messages that come. But now my eyes hurt because of the light on the screen. Okay, let's focus. Let's try this again. Okay. You do not want to miss the messages that come through on the Queen's channel, okay? Shout out to my faithful family, always in the building, holding it down in the comments. I love y'all so very much, and I'm blessed and grateful to share this journey with you all, okay? Thank y'all for walking it out with me. If you are new to the Royal family, don't forget to let us know where you are from in the comments. I will be there for a short amount of time, not a long time, but for a short amount of time to welcome you, okay? So again, I love y'all and welcome. Let's jump in because I don't want this video to be too long. Here's a message that a young queen, okay, was speaking at some event. I'm not even sure what event it was, but basically it says, if you're a parent, you need to stop what you're doing and listen to this child speak. And then somebody said, I'm apologizing to my kids today, okay? I'm going to apologize to my kids today. But anyway, here it goes, family. We want to hear what you say. Somebody's over here. Smiley coming up. So in my house, with my mom, it was always, everything was up for discussion. Everything was up for discussion because my mama, she a real understanding person. So it was literally a conversation I had growing up with me. I'm a real knowledgeable person. I like to know a lot of stuff. So I literally, so the way I would come across and say things, she'll be like, I know you're not coming from a standpoint of you trying to be disrespectful to people, but some people don't understand you how I understand you, so you might have to correct yourself. So I literally had a conversation with my mom. I was like, okay, I'm finna tell you stuff and stop me when I get disrespectful. I express my feelings, but that don't happen with everybody. And so when I was standing up here and you guys were like, don't belittle your children, but the whole statement of you're not on my level sounds like belittlement to us. It's saying you don't have as much value as me. You're not as important to me. You don't put up what I put up, so you can't have a say so in what we do. You don't pay bills. You don't own this house. You don't pay for nothing. So and it's and it and when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it make you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they act like they love me. So I'm going to go to the person that acts like they love me, and not the person who. I'm going to go to the person who acts like they love me, because when you grow up like this and you grow up with people who emotionally stunt your growth, you go looking for other people and you insecure. You go looking for other people for sex, for people who going to tell you, oh, you're pretty. That's why the first person to tell you you're pretty, I'm glad my mama never. They say your parent and your family is your first bully. Point out every insecurity you have, and then you want your kids to feel beautiful and smart and go to school with people who telling them the same thing you tell them. That's not going to work. You can't
You can't want to be your
Is this my
children's
daughter?
love and shelter, but you're not that. But that's materialistic things. If God was only materialistic to you, you will
Mm,
feel hurt. You need to have your spirit be healed. You need to have your spirit be fed. It's okay to have clothes and shoes and all this stuff, but what about my spirit? What about my emotions? What about my mental state? You can't be you look pretty on the outside. You got me nice shoes, you got me nice things, but I'm struggling on
broken,
the inside and
empty on the
wanting some people
inside.
want to commit suicide, but they look good on the outside. Y'all focus
Mm,
on the outside so much that you don't take the time. You say you listen to your children, but 9 times out of 10, you're not really listening because we don't feel safe. You say you create a safe space, but that's 9 times 10 is not true. Because even though my parents never hit me or they never threatened to hit me, they words hurt even worse. When you
mm,
telling me you never say you disappointed in me, but your body language show it all. You you look at me like I'm just some
ooh,
like you can't believe how you raised this. Some people say that to their kids, I can't believe I raised somebody like this. Well, if you raised me so
a
beautifully
word.
that you shared me with, how come I ended up like this? It's a lot of things that go into having a kid. And some people end up resenting their kids when they have them too young or they have them with the wrong person. Some people just realize that you sometimes it's too late to recognize the trauma because when you get older and I don't have to spend time with you, how often do you see me? When I don't have to live with you no more, how often do you see me?
How often do you hear
When
from me?
I have
That part.
some people get jobs, some people hang out with friends' house because
Mm.
they don't want to go home, and you refuse to recognize that you yourself have caused your child's trauma, whether you want to admit it or not, and that's the issue.
Family and those who are already a parent, please don't develop a spirit of offense, but listen to this with open ears, okay, and an open heart, right? An open mind, because we're just gonna break some of this stuff down. What she was talking about was very wise of her to be so young, very insightful, okay? And so I have so much notes on it. I don't even know where to begin, but I will start where she's mentioned. For one, when parents express that they're displeased with their child or what their child has become. In a sense, they're belittling their children, okay? And so that belittlement in my household when I grew up, I remember hearing those phrases like, I'm the parent, you're the child, you need to listen to me. This is my house, get that off of my stuff. Like everything was like mine, ownership, right? And if you cry, I'm gonna give you something to cry for. And so all of these things, what I realized was that parents back in the day were doing the best that they could. However, they were just followers. They were listening to what their parents showed them. They were modeling what their parents showed them or what their great grandparents showed them, right? They were also just following behind their friends or their other family and friends, like aunts, cousins, things of that nature, but nobody was a leader, okay? And that's one of the issues, because it's like, who was following Jesus? Who was following and living off of the principles and parenting their children off of the principles of God and his foundation, right? What does he say? How should we be raising up our children, okay? What words should be coming out of our mouths when it comes to parenting or just operating our household in a healthy way, okay? And so this is an issue I wanted to point out, that the reason why a lot of the world is in chaos and in shambles and division, right? It's because we're taking Jesus out of it. We're taking God out of it. Some people don't even want to acknowledge Jesus' name. I've run into so many people who they'll acknowledge God, like a God exists, or the world, somebody like a tree or the universe, right? It exists, but they do not want to say Jesus, okay? And we're not going to get far like that. They took Jesus out of the home, they took Jesus out of schools, they took Jesus out of the churches, okay? And so this is why we are running into issues, okay? Another thing that was standing out to me is like, it was about power and control instead of education and nourishment. Okay, so parenting was about power and control instead of education and nourishment. And the reason why I believe God wants us to speak about parenting, right? And I have to do another video about parenting styles and attachment styles. I said that before, but I really need to do it because some of you are about to be parents. Some of you are entering into this next phase of your life, and God wants you to be prepared because, excuse me, we are breaking those. Somebody's like, you always burping. I am. Okay, listen, baby. I always have burps to come out. I don't know what that's about, but anyway, we're gonna work it out. It's a lot of stuff in me, a lot of greens, okay? But yes, anyway, my love, sorry, being distracted. We rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Let's focus, okay? So, yeah, you're about to enter a new phase in your life, and God does not want us repeating cycles of negativity, of toxicity, of dysfunction, of trauma. Okay, we're done creating trauma wounds, trauma bonds, and like sending our kids out here to fend for themselves and figure it out. No, we're going to get it right for them so that they can be put in a better position moving forward in life. Okay, so no longer will it be about power and control, but it will be about education, okay, and nourishing that child mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and then financially. One of the things when she said like people just focus on the material, that was my truth. Growing up, it was like I looked good on the outside. I had sneakers, my hair was always done. They prioritize once you become a teenager, make sure you get your nails done, your feet done, or wear makeup and all of these other things. But nobody was ministering to our souls. Nobody was ministering to my spirit. Nobody was giving me wisdom and education about how to become, a woman, or how to thrive, or how to even prioritize God or purpose or legacy. Like, what is that stuff, right? Financial stability. What are those things? Okay. And so when we think about these things now, we need to put stuff into perspective. How can we live a well balanced life where we're investing in each of those areas of not only ourselves, but our family? Because if you only invest in one part of you, you're going to be imbalanced. You have to invest in every part: your mind, your body, your soul, then your physical, okay? Because if you don't, otherwise you're going to be empty on the inside. There's a lot of polished people walking up around here, okay? Outside here, okay? Y'all look good on the outside, but in the inside, it's a lot of brokenness. It's a lot of trauma. It's a lot of unhealed wounds, okay? It's a lot of it's like a lack of clarity, okay? And so it's like that spirit man is going against or in conflict with their world man, and then we're trying to just have this battle. It's like this dance where we're trying to get it in order, but we struggle, okay? And so that's why God is here, okay? He giving us the strategy, the principles, right? He's bringing us back to his foundation, his initial design, his original design for love, for life, for relationships, and he wants us to get back into his biblical principles and just go back to the drawing board so that we can have gain a clarity, that we can be healed by the healer, that we can be comforted by the comforter, that we can be wise, okay, by the person who gives us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in all things, okay, so that we can have structure and order, hallelujah, by a man who orders all of our steps, okay? So this is what this is about. I remember there was a woman in a domestic violence relationship who was my neighbor. She lived next door to us growing up in my Brooklyn apartment. And you would hear her and her man fighting constantly. He was cheating, but she stayed, okay, for lack of worth, or just people were staying because of financial issues, right? That's why I prioritize purpose, legacy. You don't accept abuse, right? Because you have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to, nobody should ever be mistreating you. And you should never be staying just because you have to stay, okay? There's going to be an outlet. I understand why we stay, but there's going to be an outlet that the Lord opens up for you or provides for you that is going to help you to get out of that negative situation. So never feel like you're held captive there, because that doesn't have to be your portion. That's not how God would treat you. And so that's not going to be his standard of living for you, okay? But anyway, what my family would do is we'll run to the wall and we'll put our ear on the wall. And so now we're listening to what is being said. Like, they're throwing glasses, TVs. I'm talking about breaking their radio station, the plates. You hear the dog, the puppy barking. You hear the child crying. You hear people running back and forth. They was just screaming so loud, and it was so horrible. And in that moment, we running and putting our, now mind you, I'm the baby of four, so we're just running to the door, and I'm following, of course, or running to the wall listening, but we're condoning that in a sense, right? Like, my siblings or even my mom is condoning that in a sense because they knew what was going on, but we looked at it as like, oh, that's excitement. Oh, this is like another reality television show, right? Like, let's be all in their business. But nobody was teaching us that, like, yo, this is unhealthy. This ain't what you need to be getting into, or this is not something that we should be doing, or let me actually go and call the cops and make sure that she good or he good and make sure that they're safe, right? It was something that we was condoning, and it was just unhealthy, okay? So education, going back to that education piece, like we can't help what we're going to be exposed to in this world. It's a lot of stuff that people consume via the news, via social media now, and just when they're at work or connected with other people outside of their home. But what we have to do is learn how to filter that information, learn how to correct people, learn how to educate people, and give people wise counsel on, okay, this is the direction that you need to go, or this is what I would suggest you doing in this situation, or I'm not knowledgeable in this area, but I do have somebody that is. Let me connect you with so and so, and so they can help you, get to your solution ultimately. Okay. um whew, yeah, it was just it was horrible, and it was condoning the wrong message. Okay, and so when you're parenting, do not condone the wrong message to your children. Don't shelter them to the point where they're not exposed to anything, right? But prepare them for what they will be exposed to. And so me being the youngest, all of this information was funneled down to me. And so I was always paying attention to things. I was always observing things. And God honestly just naturally always had me as a solid person, in a sense of being able to hold my own, being able to stand on my own 2 feet. And so I was very outspoken, like that girl was saying. She spoke her mind, and I was very curious. I always was a student of life. I always wanted to learn and have more information about things. So I asked a lot of questions, and I didn't allow the world to throw me to and from, right? And so I was rejected in my own household. Okay, and these are things that led to me experiencing my own forms of trauma. But like, I was rejected. People didn't like when I came around, even as an adult, even though I had moved out and I went to college. And anytime I come back home, it's kind of like, how they say the prophet is not welcomed or respected in their own hometown. It's kind of like that, right? And I don't like to call myself a prophet, but anyway, it is what it is. Like, when you're chosen, I can say I'm chosen. I can say that, because a lot of these things that I was exposed to was supposed to indeed break me, but it didn't, by the grace of God. Hallelujah. And so, yeah, I was rejected. People didn't want me around. People hate when I open my mouth. Okay, they don't want me to speak because I'm telling people truth. Like, I'm calling it out. I'm calling it out. Whatever I'm seeing that's inappropriate, whatever I'm seeing that's not right, and it's not my standard. It's not a Brittany standard. It's not a Dr. G standard. It's a God standard. It's a biblical standard. It's a principle, a value, a foundation. Things that are just out of order. Okay, anything that's out of order is getting called out, and I'm even like that with myself. Don't think I just be like calling what other people out doing. No, 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 no. I'm calling it out because we need to all be better as a unit. We need to all be better as a whole. Iron sharpens iron. I'm just as good as you. Okay, y'all know that saying, you're just as strong as the weakest person on your team. We need no weak links. Okay, no weak links on the team. Everybody on the team need to be sharp. Everybody on the team need to be polished. Everybody on the team need to be acting like they got some wisdom, some sense, and we need to be out here doing what we need to be doing for the kingdom. Okay, and so when I think about like parenting, I want to raise a child who knows how to hold their own. Like, they're going to be educated, they're going to be comforted, they're going to be nourished, but they're also going to be a leader. Okay, they're going to know how to hold their own. And that was one of my saving graces. Okay, because I did not care what other people thought about me, because I did not need to be accepted by a crowd, I was able to live in freedom. I was able to move how I wanted to move. I was able to speak how I wanted to speak. I was able to basically live how the Lord really wanted me to live, because I don't care what you think about me. And if I don't care what you think about me, that means I'm not here to please you. And if I'm not here to please you, okay, then I can say what needs to be said without caring if you're going to like me or not after it. You know what I'm saying? And so, family, that's something to think about if you find yourself being in situations where you may be a people pleaser, or you just you care about what the world thinks about you, and about wanting to be accepted. God has already accepted you. God has already chosen you. Okay, and so you're already loved unconditionally by God. And so base your foundation and your core values and your love on him, on God. Like, he has you protected. And so when he's directing you and instructing you to do certain things, just do it. Be obedient to the Lord, because he's going to make sure that you're always good. Okay. Another point that she made was, when you throw stuff back in your children's face. Okay. Oh, baby, as a counselor, again, I used to do home visits. Okay, pre-COVID. Anyway, I used to do home visits. So when I used to counsel people in their house, I would hear so many stories. And so these parents would say to their child, I paid for such and such schooling for you. This is the best private school I paid for you to go to. And this is how you treat me. You always got clothes. You always got food. I let your friends come over. You just had a football party, a pizza party, or this, that, and the third. And you acting like this. Like they would be, oh, listen, baby. And I would have to correct them because they're talking about their child to me in front of the child. It would just be, okay, listen, baby, y'all don't understand. So anyway, maybe you do if you're a counselor as well, but I would just be like, inappropriate, out of order. We're not doing that right now. And they be cracking up at me because I'm so young, like, so I technically, quote unquote, shouldn't be counseling nobody in their eyes because it's like, how you telling a 45-year-old parent what to do with their child? You don't have no children yourself and you fresh off the pot. So they thought, right? But they don't know that this is like wisdom from the Lord, okay? I'm backed up by Jesus Christ, okay? And so I always was very wise, and he always gave me insight. Like I was exposed to so many different things at a young age that it really trained me up well to know what was the way and what was going against the way, okay, my loves? And so please never throw in your children's face what you do for them. Don't ever throw in your child's face what you do for them, okay? um mm, 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 mm. When you take on the role of being a parent, that's your responsibility. Okay, you now have a new responsibility for that person, for that child. And so who cares what you do for them? And if you think about it, a child is a gift from God. So whatever you have to give, quote unquote, these children, some people were business owners and they was working so crazy. And as a business owner, I'm mindful of that. Like I'm being very intentional to build ahead of time before having children so that when I actually have my children, I have time to be with them. I have time to invest in them on every level. I have time to play with them and nourish them. And, I'm even considering homeschooling at this point because well, all of the stuff that's going on in schools these days, I don't see my child ever going to school. But anyway, it's like your child shouldn't have to pay you back for what you did for them. Okay. And when God blesses you with a child, it's a gift from him. And so any finances, any resources, any roof over their head, that's something that's a gift, and whatever he gives he can take away. So that's not something that you should be cocky about or throw in people's faces or be prideful about. No, you need to be grateful that, okay, God, you gave me this child, I want to give him back to you, right? Like, what do I need to do? How do I need to raise this child up? And I thank you for the finances, and I thank you for the food, and I thank you for providing for my family and making sure that we're good, right? So a lot of times we think that we got the stuff because we working for it. We think we got it, and so we just treat people any way that we want to treat them. Absolutely not, okay? um Another story that I failed to mention earlier about when we were speaking about the abuse and condoning that abuse and that violence instead of educating people. I remember seeing my sister, one of my sisters, she was adopted as well. They jumped her. My siblings in my house jumped her. I forgot exactly what the case was. I know my sister, she was drinking early, smoking early, having sex early, in and out of jail. Basically she was just going through a lot of things, right? And as an adopted child, we already naturally feel like we don't belong in the world or feel like we don't belong any place in general. And so the way that we deal with and I think her mom was even on crack, so she was birthed into some stuff, okay? Bloodline generational curses from the womb, okay? um and so yeah, like she was dealing with some things, and because God wasn't in it, again, my mom and my siblings didn't know how to handle that. They didn't know how to handle her. They didn't know how to handle her behavior. They didn't know how to handle conflict or disagreements. And so it ended up they did what they knew to do. Okay, they from Brownsville. For those of y'all don't know about Brownsville, baby, listen, baby, okay. Brownsville, they from the hard knocks of life. But anyway, I grew up in a nice little, I mean, it was nice then. They trying to make it the projects now, for real. But you know, it wasn't really all that project-y, okay, when I was growing up. So anyway, when you come from Brownsville, it is a lot of fight. It is a lot of put some Vaseline on your face, put your Timbs on, and let's get out here and go fight. Okay. I remember when people was just trying to jump me at school. This is a whole sidebar. I'm so sorry, but anyway, people was trying to jump me at school, and my older sister came home. She was like my mom, because I spent a lot of time with her. But anyway, they wrote BITCH on my door, right? Because they followed me. I was coming from choir class, okay, because I was in vocal class, vocal school, whatever. Anyway, after school, and they followed me home. They did not like this. They did not like me at a young age, okay? Because I always just kind of like walked around like I knew who I was, and so I get home, I hear them like banging on the door. Mind you, I have my own keys. Nobody's home this day. They write BITCH on the door. My sister come home from work and she's like, what is this on the door? And I was like, these people are trying to jump me. So they all downstairs and we could see them across the street, right? So they all downstairs. She's like, put your stuff on. We going downstairs to fight them. I'm like, what? Fight? What? Me? Okay. Fight, girl. Yeah. She's like, put your stuff on. We going to fight them. Okay. So anyway, I put my stuff on. We go downstairs, and she's like, "I'll go to jail for that one. Y'all gonna stop playing with my sister or whatever like that. That's my like." She was just defending me. She, okay, my the firstborn, she has her stuff with her, but again, she tries. Okay, like she did the best she could. Going back to that Brownsville mentality, like everything was fight, everything was abuse, everything was power, everything was control, everything was about like you know, taken. And so anyway, they ended up jumping my sister in the house. And as the baby, I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, why y'all fighting her? Like, I don't know what she did. I'm sure it was something crazy. But it's like, Mom, why are you. I'm about to say the poor lady name. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm about to say your name on here, girl. But anyway, why are you condoning that? Right? Instead of doing some other stuff, like, I don't know what. Why are you condoning your other daughters abusing your other daughters? There should be unity. There should be harmony. There should be you encouraging us to get along. So all of my siblings, I'm sad to say this because it really did break me as a child growing up. And I always said I'll tell my story one day, but I'm gonna get paid for it. Okay, I'm not just gonna be talking about people because I don't believe in that. That's a poor man's sport. So anyway, um, I always said that. What was it? What was I trying to say? Like basically, you need to be putting us together, but what we did was we were divided. We were living in the same household, but we were separated. Like my mother and my father, they ended up being quote unquote separated in the household, though they were married. So I was sharing a room with my mom, and my father had the master room. At one point my mother was sleeping on the couch, and then so they were divided, right, as a unit. And then my mother would talk about each of her children to each of her children. So I remember her closing the door, and I would hear, I'm gonna just speak about myself real quick. I would hear her say, like, I don't even want to go to her graduation. I want to meet y'all at the baby shower, but I'm gonna go to her graduation first, and I'm gonna let y'all something like I'll meet y'all there. It was something kind of like it was something that I overheard, and I knew it broke my heart because I'm like, why don't you want to come to my graduation, or why don't you want to support me? Like anyway, I had to do everything on my own. Okay. I just wanted like a $20 rainbow dress or something, and because rainbow was real popular back in the day, rainbow and Payless. Okay, shout it out. And you know about those stores. But anyway, she she was getting money from me, so I didn't understand why, like why I couldn't have those things. She was like, ask your father, ask your father, ask your father. And so then when me and my father formed a close bond, because he was always the one there for me, like if I was crying, if I was being um abused by my siblings, he would be the one that comes and hug me, he would be the one that came and made sure I was good. So then it was like, okay, she's close to dad now, who has all of the basically everything, and they didn't like that. So now it was like them against me again. And it was just a lot of division, and I'm like, don't do that in your household. Like the family unit needs to be strong as a whole. Okay, you don't talk about each of your, basically you need to be talking to us collectively and saying, listen, this is your brother, this is your sister, y'all need to get it together. You don't get into those ties, right? Like be an adult, being a mature emotional parent. And this is what it goes back to those trauma wounds, those unhealed trauma wounds. When you're not healed, when you don't invest in yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially, whatever you're dealing with, it is going to be funneled over to your children. Okay. And so this is why it's important for us to do this work now, this inner healing now, us partnering with Jesus now, so he can get us right. So he can get us right. Okay. He can get us right. Um, Another thing that is coming to me, I used to be so upset because I felt like I was paying my mother back for everything that she did for me, you know. She would always say, like, you know, I adopted you, and then she told this story to like my aunts and stuff, and so they would feel comfortable throwing it in my face. And I was like, inappropriate. Like in my mind, I always knew it was inappropriate. They would feel comfortable saying, like, you know, she didn't have to adopt y'all. Y'all. It was always like a y'all. I remember hearing like, you don't even belong here. You don't even belong here. They didn't have to adopt you. It was so um just not okay to say, right? And so anyway, I felt like my whole childhood that I was paying them back for adopting me. And I shouldn't have to pay you back for doing something that you chose to do. I was a child. I was in a vulnerable situation as a vulnerable person, right? It was a disadvantaged situation. And I don't believe I owe you anything for that, okay? You took me in. Now you have a responsibility to be a parent, to be my parent, and to grow me up in the way that I need to grow up. I don't have to pay you back for that, okay? And so she always made me feel like I owed her something, like, you need to do this for me, you need to do that for me, you need to do this for me, not knowing that you would have everything that you need naturally if you was just a good person. If your heart, you know, if you was just nice, if you was just chill, if you was just loving, if you was just a little nurturing, like a mom should be, you know. And then so I was watching this video another day. I hope you're vibing with me because there's so much in my mind and in my life and in my thoughts and on this paper that we got to get to. But so I'll go off on a tangent a little bit. But anyway, I was listening to this video and they were saying that sometimes moms could not be nurturing. And I know some of you mothers are going to relate to this because the man was out of order. The man was out of order. And although I love my dad, I don't believe he was invested in my mom mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, right? Again, God was out the picture. Okay. And so when a woman is not, basically, he's the leader, he's the head of the household. And so she wasn't being poured into, so she couldn't pour into us. And then a lot of times she felt like she had to be the man. She had to, because my father provided financially, right? He made sure a roof was over our head, he made sure we had food, but he wasn't providing emotionally or mentally and spiritually to her. And I mean, he was capable of doing that because he did it to me, but he wasn't doing it to my mom for whatever reason that they had. And so not only did my mother make their marriage our issue, her children's issue, but you could tell that she was falling into depression, she was falling into just not having any zeal for life, any zest for life. And she was being very unhealthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like everything. Anytime that she wanted to get her needs met, it was in a very passive, manipulative way, or a way that would make you feel guilty or shameful if you didn't do something for her. It was just, it wasn't good, you know, it wasn't healthy, my loves. And so I say this to say that men, what God is doing right now is he's putting y'all back into position. It's going to be a rightful position, and it's going to be a position where you are the head, you are the leader. But not only should you be leading your wife and your family, your household financially with provision, right? But with vision, with mental, emotional, and spiritual support, pouring into the woman, okay? So the woman can be strong to be a nurturer. Because my mother had to fall into a category of providing, making sure that we had food, but also, I mean, like, well, the dinner was cooked, but that she had to take us to school. She had to, and shout out, because some men are helping in these areas now, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. But anyway, she had to do all of the hands-on things, like, let me get them dressed, let me cook, let me take them to school, let me help them with their homework, let me. And then my father just got to live his life, right? Like, he was working, he came home, did what he wanted to do, went out to the park, listened to his music and his boombox. And then, you know, it wasn't no real engagement. They would have conversations, but it wasn't a real engaging relationship. And so my mother was a provider, so she couldn't be a nurturer, okay? And so we have to change that. We have to change that. And I understand that, but it still didn't change the fact that she was abusive, right? And abuse is not only physical abuse, it's psychological, that mental and emotional piece. And so for me, it was like, I want to be connected to you, right? But I also know that I cannot have you abusing me. I cannot. Being connected to you is killing my seed. It's killing the gifts that God has deposited in me. It's killing the peace and prosperity that I'm supposed to have and be obtaining in life. It's killing my talents, my creativity. And so although I loved my family, although I wanted to be connected to them, I was like, because they did not choose to heal, because they did not choose to do the work, or ultimately because they did not choose Jesus, separation was the only way that he could do what he needed to do inside of me, right? And so again, not caring what people thought about me, I had to keep saying yes to Jesus, and it meant leaving some people behind that I loved. I could cry. Mm. Whew. Sorry, family. So yes, it's good. The separation was good for me, right? Because now that God has me right, and he's still getting me right, I will be that much better to go back and get my family when it's time. When he gives me that, that go. I will be so much better for my community, for the people that he's calling me to pour into and nourish, right? Um, and this is also where your purpose comes in, my loves, okay? So I seen a gap, I seen an issue, I seen a problem, and you want to be that gap filler. You want to be somebody who studies what is disturbing, what is causing this division and dysfunction, and then you want to be that solution to it, okay? Your purpose and your life mission is going to be filling the gap, being the solution to a problem, right? And this can be a problem that you have. It's going to be a pain point. That's what God is going to use. What has God healed you from? What has God delivered you from, and how has he done that, so that you can now teach other people the blueprint and the foundation of overcoming their own mess, okay? Because of my upbringing, it also made me come up with family values. Having a traumatic upbringing, it makes you know a lot of what you don't want and a lot of what you do want, okay? Because I paid attention to what was happening. I don't just let stuff happen to me. I pay attention to it, and then I come up with, again, the solution to combat it, all right? And so as a parent, I want to encourage you to come up with your own family values. We have core values and family values in my description box, okay? So go check it out. Um, I love what we stand on as a family at the Keys to the Kingdom, but also like my own personal family values when I create a family, or God blesses me with one, rather, is keeping God first. So God is going to be number one. And I'll just state a few because I don't need y'all in my business like that. But respect is number two. God and respect, because respect comes before love in my eyes, because I'm not always going to like you. And I've experienced this with how God is training me up to um like love on him as my first husband, right? And so I don't always like what God tells me to do. I don't always like the situations that God places me in. And I still have to respect him, right? I still have to love him. I still have to be submitted to him. And so in my respect, I mean, can I communicate to you in a respectful way? Although I'm upset and I'm gonna tell you how I feel, can I still communicate to you in a respectful way? Can my behavior and my action towards you still be respectful? Not in an abusive way, not in a passive aggressive way, or just a passive way where I'm not talking at all, or I'm ignoring you, or I'm slamming doors and kitchen tables and all this other stuff, right? To get your attention. No, can I still behave and speak in a way that's respectable? And that's what I want my children to know, and just my household in general. Like, we need to respect each other even when we don't like each other, okay? Because it's still love there. I just don't like you right now. Right? So, God, respect, and then unconditional love. Unconditional love. I don't care what we're going through. Unconditional love has to be our foundation, our core value. Because yeah, it's that agape love. It's God's love for us. It means that we're going to forgive and be committed to forgiving each other and loving each other despite anything that we go through in life, okay? And another one is health. Health on every level: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health. Like, we need to all be invested in our health, okay? So yeah, those are some of my family values. Come up with some of your own family values and let me know how you do, okay? What else? This girl, this queen that we was listening to earlier, she was speaking so much good stuff. I was writing so much notes down, trying to understand my handwriting. Whew. Oh, another thing, my loves, notice your child. We spend a lot of our lives wanting to feel loved, valued, heard, respected and seen. Okay. And so I remember hearing like my aunts would tell me, your mom is so proud of you. Or, and again, I refer to my mom a lot because that's who I was really like around most of the time because she shared a room with me all of my all of my teenage years. Okay. Mostly. So it was just like us in each other's environment, and whoever you're around, you become like them a little bit, right? So God had to do a work in me. That's why at 18 I was out. I had to go, and I never looked back. I never went back to Brooklyn except to visit. I'm never going back. I don't care. I'll be homeless. I'm never going back there. Oh, God is good. So anyway, um, oh baby, hallelujah. He brought me up out of there. Okay, he brought me up out the mud. But anyway, so yeah, they would. I would be like, why they not at my graduation, or why they not supporting me, or why they don't show love. And she'd be like, your mom is so proud of you. They love you. They appreciate you. But how come I don't hear it? How come they don't tell me that? So my mom would tell my relatives, but she wouldn't tell me. And it made me feel unseen. It made me feel invisible. It made me feel um unloved. It made me feel ultimately like, like y'all don't like me or something. And so I then learned that, okay, we have something called jealousy. Like your parent has the potential to be jealous of the child, right? If they see that that child is accumulating so much and they look like, well, you've been through all of this, or we came from here too, but you have achieved that. How is that possible? It shouldn't be you. It shouldn't be happening for you. There can be jealousy that's formed between parents and siblings. Okay. So that was one thing. Then we learned psychology is called narcissism, right? And then in spiritual life, biblical sense, it's called a Jezebel spirit, right? And so I'm like, okay, God, what do I do with all of this? Because I had a sister who went to college. She went to college in Queens, and my mother would call her every single day. My mother would check on her. My mother moved her into the dorms. My mother didn't move me into the dorms. I took Greyhound. Okay, I had nobody to drive me. I have nothing, and they didn't even help me shop and prepare for that transition, that big life transition. Right? It was a lot of strife in my home, and all of this is the devil. Right? It's a power and principality I was fighting because I was again the chosen one. Okay, God already knew this, but I didn't know it. I was learning it. I was discovering it. In hindsight, I could tell y'all the full picture of what was happening back then. But as that little teenage girl, as that girl that was evolving and growing into being a woman, I couldn't understand. I just felt that brokenness, that division, like people don't like me, and I love y'all, and y'all supposed to love me back, but it's not that, right? So I was like, why do you call her? She's right up the street in Queens from Brooklyn. I'm 8 hours away from home, and I don't hear from you unless I reach out to you. It's 2 months. Okay, people be like, how's your mom? I don't know. I haven't spoke to that lady in 2 months. And they be like, what? I see my roommates, they grandmother calling them, right? They great grandmother calling them, they father calling them, everybody calling them to checking on them. Nobody calling Brittany to checking on Brittany. And Brittany just learned how to fend for herself through everything, or Dr. G rather. And I was like, um, what is that about, God? Like, why am I going through that? And the only time we do speak is if I reach out to them, and she would be like, well, I'm the mother of the child, you're supposed to reach out to me, which I knew was a lie because I see you reaching out to my other sister. And then I seen people's grandparents calling them. So I'm like, if you care about somebody, if you love somebody, you just gonna show them that you care and love them. It ain't about the title. Like, if I love you, I'm going to celebrate your birthday. These people would not celebrate my birthday. That's why I do it big for myself. Okay, I don't need to wait for nobody to do nothing for me, because you're not going to pick and choose how you want to love me, how you want to deal with me. And that has been the biggest lesson that I had to learn, right? How to love myself, how to pour into myself, and how to keep going even when other people outside are not able to do that because they just don't have the capacity, or they're choosing not to, right? It's not the end of the world, but we do have to navigate. We have to learn how to navigate. And so anyway, when I recognize that, you know, only time you want to speak to me is if you need something, right? Oh, I need money. Can I borrow this? Or I need to pay a bill. Or can I put your name on this? Or we need to gossip and talk about other people. I was like, man, this ain't for me. This is not my portion. This is not my reality. And again, being connected to you was killing me. It was killing a lot of seeds. It was like a spirit of murder. And so I had to again make that hard choice. Like, I'm not choosing to stay connected to people, places, and things that bring me back to my traumatic wounds, my traumatic background. Okay. And so when God was ministering to my spirit about this, he was like, you know, you have to create a safe environment. Not only for yourself, but for your family, for your own children, and this is how you do it. I had to expose you to these things so that you could learn like what is of me and what's not of me, right? And so now that I know, I'm able to instill these traits into my own family. And sometimes we get caught up in this, that we don't want to be something, right? We don't want to be like our parents so much that you end up being like them anyway, right? And so even being careful and aware of that, right? Like, okay, am I trying to be too perfect with this child? Am I trying to save this child from too much, right? And then learning how to navigate that situation in that sense, because it can't, the issue cannot remain the same, the problem cannot remain the same. There's no community here, there's no love here, there's no compromise here, there's no faith here, there's no hope here. And so we need a strategy, okay? And I believe that during this time God has given his children the strategy. I kept hearing that word too, strategy, strategy, strategy. God has given us the strategy to win on every level in our lives, okay? On every level in our lives. And so I just wanted y'all to know that. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, tying up that last point, just make sure that your children are loved, heard, acknowledged, seen, okay, respected, valued. Cherish your children, okay, because they are gifts from God, okay? And your purpose is going to be that solving that problem, okay? That issue that you notice. It doesn't even have to be you. If you didn't have a traumatic upbringing or background, like, you could look at other things in the world, like what is missing, and how can we fix it, okay? When she ended the video, it says, you have caused your child's trauma and you might not even know it. And sometimes it's too late to recognize it. But when your child grows up and he or she is an adult, you will recognize it, because you see, like, hey, this person's not spending time with me. Hey, this person don't check up on me. Hey, this person don't call me. Hey, this person is not here to take care of me in my old age. Or hey, this person just put me in a nursing home and didn't even think twice about me, right? And so sometimes parents, it's too late to recognize our impacts on people. And I remember when my mom used to, again, just didn't have any accountability. She would say things like, you hate me that much, or you don't love me that much, like, or instead of just stating like her needs or what she needed from me in that moment, it would always be like in a circle, talking in a circle. And that's why I like to be very direct. I'm very intentional. I don't play games with people, especially when it comes to the matters of the heart. It's just out of respect for you and out of respect for me and my time. I like to be very accountable, very intentional, right? When it comes to people and their emotions, I like to let people know what's going on and how I feel about them, because why play games with you? I don't have to play games with you, because otherwise it's wasting your time and it's wasting my time, right? And so I say this to say, be accountable, right? Take ownership. My mother, instead of just her apologizing, she would put the blame and the shame on me, or try to anyway. I knew it was projection, because God made me a counselor. He made me a social worker. So I was learning all of these things. Y'all should have seen me. I used to be eating this wisdom up in school. I used to be writing this stuff down. I'd be like, oh, so this is what happened to me. This is why this happened to me. Whew. Like all of the pieces was coming together, and it was God feeding my spirit. It was God healing me. And it was God letting me know, like, yes, this is what's wrong. This is what happened to you. And I was like, oh, it was like God was my counselor. He was counseling me. Okay. So I could counsel other people. I was out here trying to learn to heal other people when God was really healing me. Okay. And so I was like, wow, putting all the pieces together. And it's like, Mom, you and me will be further in our lives and in our relationship if you would just apologize, okay? If you would just be accountable and own up to what you did wrong. Because I don't hate anybody. I don't ever have any negative emotions toward anybody. Once we go through something, I'm done with it and I'm over it, right? But people don't understand that it be their own guilt and their own shame eating them up inside. And it's like, I'm not even mad at you, bro. I'm not even mad at you, sis. If you just talk, if you just communicate, if you just tell me what's up or what you was going through, we could connect better. We could connect deeper and strengthen what we have, strengthen this bond. But because people be so like feeling so guilty, on the inside of what they did and how they treated you, it cripples them, okay? And so let's just avoid all of that. Let's not cripple anybody. Let's not play when it comes to the matters of the heart. Let's not manipulate anybody into doing things or acting in a certain way that we want them to act. Let us all just be accountable and intentional when it comes to people's mind, body, and souls, okay? That is it, my loves. That is it. And if I had to answer my mother back now, I'll probably just tell her, like, no, I don't hate you. I actually love you with the love of Christ. Okay. And I wish we could have been better. I wish we could have communicated better. Okay. But yes, that is it, family. I know that was a ton of information. I pray y'all followed it all. This is an extremely long video. I think this is the longest video I've ever done. But yes, we had to speak about trauma. We had to dive into that. We had to speak about parenting a little bit. And I'm going to come back again and do parenting styles and attachment styles and how we learn to attach in relationships based on our upbringing, okay? But the point is, and I want to read this to you real quick and then I'll let y'all go. Let me see. I'm just going to read the whole message of how I internalized what it said. So, if God was only materialistic, we would feel hurt. We need our spirits healed. We need our spirits fed. We need mental, emotional, and spiritual security. This queen spoke a whole message, and we all need to catch this. All parts of our being need to be invested in, not just one area. Abuse, power, and control is not only in the form of the physical, but abuse can also be psychological, so mental and emotional. Unhealed trauma inevitably produces trauma responses. These are words and behaviors that causes more cycles of trauma to manifest in relationships. Yeah, I know God has charged the queen with building our relationships back, okay? Healthy relationships is our portion. Hallelujah. Unity, okay? Healthy marriages, okay? So we must create safe, holistic, that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial environments for our children to thrive. Otherwise, broken children become broken adults. Have you ever met an adult who's like 35 years old, but then they act like 15, and it's just because they're still mentally, emotionally stuck at a place where trauma infected their heart, okay? Their soul, okay? So, broken children become broken adults, right? Hard to relate to people sometimes. And it's because we're looking for an escape, but what we really want is to feel loved, seen, heard, valued, and respected. However, due to not finding these connections at home, we typically attempt to find these connections through unhealthy avenues, such as remaining in unstable, intimate relationships, developing attention seeking character traits, people pleasing, gambling, frequent intake of cigarettes, alcohol, weed, food, sex, pornography, compulsive buying, overworking, excessive exercise, or living the fast life. Okay, we know about the fast life as well, okay? Being from Brooklyn, I know y'all know. But yes, babies, listen, the best part about all of this is that I know a man named Jesus, and he has shown me that it all can be reversed for our good, okay? It can all be reversed to work out for our good. Our main priority in all of this is that in order to heal and experience sustainable growth, so you don't want to just heal for a little bit of your life and then you keep going back to the same patterns, habits, right? No, you want to be renewed totally, entirely, made a whole new creature, okay? But the only way to experience this sustainable growth is through putting in your work, doing your work, putting in your time, okay? You cannot change what happened to you, but you can choose to make something better come from it. All right. And so we need to be out here partnering with Jesus. Okay. I love y'all. I love y'all, family. Be blessed. Do not forget to be a blessing. Go visit the queen at infinitelyhealed.com for any counseling and healing services that I offer. I am a trauma informed educator and counselor who will help you get to the root and the nitty gritty of everything that you have been exposed to in life. And we're going to heal, okay? We're going to heal. We're not going to cope. We're going to heal so we can overcome and be conquerors that God has called us to be and go out here and transform other lives of our family and friends who have been struggling with the same thing, okay? Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment. Don't forget to let us know where you are from, all right? And shop empowered by love. This is one of my shirts, okay? I love this one. This is Love and Legacy. So make sure y'all go shop empowered by love. It's at infinitelyhealed.com. You can actually see all of my links in my description box below, okay? So again, I love you, my babies. Let's be good. Let's be better. Let's be better, okay? We want to be better individuals, better moms, better fathers, better kings, better queens, better daughters, better sons. All of the above. Because the world is waiting for us, all right? Bye. Who's texting me this late?